You know that feeling when someone you trust, maybe a company or even a government agency, just completely breaks that trust. It really stings.
It does. And today we're kind of digging into exactly that feeling. We've got a Department of Justice press release here about a guilty plea. Involves bribery.
Right, bribery within the General Services Administration, the GSA.
Yeah, maybe we should quickly explain the GSA, just for context.
Good idea.
So think of them as the government's property managers, basically. They handle federal buildings,
Yeah.
land, all that stuff. A huge operation.
Which means lots and lots of contracts,
Right,
right?
exactly. Billions of dollars worth. Which brings us to this case.
Okay, so the press release says a guy named Christopher Brackens, who owns a construction company, admitted he conspired to bribe someone inside the GSA.
Uh-huh. And not just anyone. It was a former contracting officer's representative. The release calls them Public Official A.
So someone with real influence over who got GSA projects.
Precisely. That's the key here. Brackens essentially confessed to giving this Public Official A around $50,000, cash, but also other things of value.
And the goal was pretty clear, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Get the official to steer GSA work towards Bracken's company. Just, completely bypasses the whole fair competition idea.
And potentially cost taxpayers more.
Could do, absolutely.
Now, what caught my eye is that this bribery thing isn't Bracken's only problem.
No, it's not. The DOJ press release also mentions he pleaded guilty to wire fraud. Something about a pandemic disaster loan, an EIDL loan.
And get this, also possession of a machine gun.
Yeah.
With the serial number obliterated.
Wow. Okay, so that adds quite another dimension to it.
It really does. Makes you wonder about the whole picture.
Yeah, it suggests maybe a wider pattern. But our focus today really is the GSA bribery part.
Right. We want to unpack how this scheme actually worked, look at the money involved, the profits.
And think about the consequences. What systems are supposed to stop this? Did they fail here? That's what we're trying to understand.
Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty then. How did Brackens actually get this money, these benefits, to the official? The DOJ gives a couple of examples.
They do. The first one dates back to late 2018, and it's a bit roundabout. It involved inflating a bonus for one of Bracken's own employees.
Inflating a bonus. How did that work as a bribe?
Well, according to the plea, Brackens inflated the bonus and then told that employee to hand over $8,000 in cash directly to Public Official A.
Huh. So, like, trying to create some distance, make it harder to trace back.
That's certainly what it looks like, doesn't it? An attempt to muddy the waters, maybe shows they knew they were skating on thin ice.
Okay, that was 2018. Then there's another payment mentioned, early 2021. $25,000 this time. Different method.
Yeah, this one seems a bit more direct, but still disguised. It apparently went through Public Official A's own side business.
Their own business. What kind?
An air conditioning repair business, believe it or not.
So the $25K payment was made to the AC company, maybe looking like a payment for services?
Plausibly, yeah. Another layer, perhaps, to make it look legitimate on the surface. It really shows the kind of maneuvering involved in trying to hide these things.
And here's the number that really stands out for me. The estimated profit. The press release says Bracken's company made about $133,413 directly from this scheme.
That's a crucial figure, $133,413. It highlights the why, right? The financial motive behind it all. That's a pretty strong pull towards corruption.
And it's not just abstract numbers. That profit potentially came from contracts that maybe should have gone elsewhere or maybe cost the government more than they should have.
Exactly. It ultimately impacts taxpayers and the integrity of the whole government contracting system.
So Brackens has pleaded guilty. What happens next? What penalties is he actually facing?
Well, the charges carry some hefty maximums. For the bribery conspiracy, it's up to 5 years in prison, plus potential supervised release after.
Okay, 5 for the bribery. What about the other charges?
The wire fraud is much steeper maximum of 20 years, and the machine gun possession charge carries a potential 10 years.
Wow, 20 years max for the fraud. But you always hear that maximums are rarely imposed.
That's true. Federal sentencing is complex. The judge considers the sentencing guidelines, the specifics of the case, lots of factors. So the actual sentence could be less.
Do we know when the sentencing hearing is?
We do. It's scheduled for Wednesday, September 10th at 2 p.m.
Okay. September 10th, and the judge is U.S. District Judge Deborah L. Boardman.
Correct.
Something else I noticed in the press release was the sheer number of agencies involved in the investigation. It wasn't just the GSA's own Inspector General.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, the GSA OIG, yes, but also the FBI. And then the Inspector General offices from the Department of Defense and Homeland Security, too. DODOIG and DHSOIG.
That's quite a team. What does that tell you?
It speaks volumes, really. It shows how seriously the federal government takes these kinds of allegations. Corruption, bribery, they pool resources.
Suggests there are multiple layers of oversight trying to catch this stuff.
Right. Multiple watchdogs working together. It underscores the effort to maintain accountability, especially when public funds are involved. Makes you appreciate the complexity of trying to police such a massive system.
All right, so let's wrap this up. Thinking about the key takeaways for everyone listening.
Okay.
So number 1, Christopher Brackens pleaded guilty, conspiring to bribe a GSA official.
And this happened between roughly 2018 and 2021.
The bribe itself was about $50,000 in cash and other benefits. We talked about those specific methods.
That $8,000 cash passed through an employee after an inflated bonus.
Right, and the $25,000 payment laundered essentially through the official's AC repair business.
And the payoff for Bracken's company. An estimated profit of over $133,000 from these tainted deals.
Now he's facing sentencing in September. Could be significant prison time, looking at those maximums for bribery, wire fraud, and the weapon charge.
And remember, this wasn't just one agency finding this. It was a big collaborative investigation involving GSA's IG, the FBI, DOD's IG, Homeland Security's IG.
A real joint effort.
Definitely. Which leads us, I suppose, to the final thought for you, the listener.
Yeah, what should people be thinking about after hearing all this?
Well, really consider the ripple effects of this kind of corruption. How does it chip away at public trust in government, in the fairness of how contracts are awarded?
And what weaknesses might it expose? Are the systems designed to prevent this strong enough?
Exactly. What other checks and balances are there, or should there be? We see the IGs working here, but how effective is that whole system day to day in stopping these schemes before they even start or before they get this far?
Lots to think about regarding accountability and, well, just making sure the system works like it's supposed to.
Precisely. How do we safeguard taxpayer money and ensure that trust isn't so easily broken? Something to mull over.